My name, if you look at my amended birth certificate, is Mia Francis Akiko Yamamoto. I was born Michael Francis Akito Yamamoto, 1943. I was born in camp. A unique experience. They put all the Japanese people in camps, and we got herded there in 1942. I often tell my clients that I was born doing time because one has to see discrimination to sort of recognize it. It reflects upon my work today. I'm a criminal defense attorney. When I graduated college, my prospects didn't look very good in terms of the society I was surrounded by. There really just appeared to be no place in society at all for transgender people at all. But I remember thinking, I want to talk to these folks. I just want to see what's going through their heads, because I think it's the same as mine. And that's why I started law school. I went to UCLA, and I was the original founder of the Asian Pacific and Islander Law Student Association at UCLA. We were just called the Asian Law Students back then. And decided that the movement for civil rights, which had lost so much in the 60s, Martin Luther King had been murdered. There were all these people that were fighting for this equality that it seemed to me like a worthwhile thing to fight for. So we collaborated with the black law students and the Chicano law students and the gay law students. There was actually a fledgling gay law students at UCLA in at least 1970. And we organized for the purpose of advancing social justice issues in people who had been previously unfairly excluded from the legal mainstream. I've always felt that they get a pretty rotten shake in the world, and I felt like lawyers are people that either make that worse or they make that better. Joined the Public Defender's Office in March of 1974, and did that for 10 years. Loved every minute of it. I really learned how to be a criminal defense attorney, learned how to fight those cases, just making that effort towards helping people and fighting for them. I left the office in '84, and I spent probably 6 months trying to deal with my gender issues. I thought that there was some way to actually get rid of this anxiety that I sort of felt all the time, this feeling of being displaced and just uncomfortable. There was no pivotal moment where, or sort of like all of a sudden I'm enlightened. It was a gradual, as it keeps getting more and more intense, as the disconnect between your brain and your body becomes even more painful. At some point, gender dysphoria, gender difficulty is something with a sort of a mind of its own. It has all the elements of an obsession and a compulsion, except that it gets more and more insistent as you age. My very first gender therapist, he worked with me for about 6 months, and he was really good, and he always asked the right questions. And then his final diagnosis, he said, "You're actually what we would call a transsexual." And he says, "That means that you're destined for surgery." And so my response was, "You're fired." I tried different forms of therapy, and then after about 20 years, it turns out he was right. Well, you just get to a certain point in your life and you say, screw it. I don't care who doesn't like it. I don't care what I'm going to lose. I'm going to tell the truth, and I'm going to let the chips fall where they may from that point on. And I had to think about, how am I going to deal with the ridicule and the rejection that I'm going to see. Surgery itself, I remember laying in bed the night before my surgery and thinking, tomorrow, 7 hours of surgery, you could die in the middle of it. And I remember saying to myself, good. If for the first time in my life I'm true to myself, I've got to sacrifice my life for it, then fine. People who are willing to put themselves out there for a cause or for something, for art, for love. Really, those are the kind of people, those are the only kind of people that change the world. Maybe that's the blessing of having been born transgender, to feel like you're sort of like a permanent outsider, so that your interests are always with them. And no matter where you go or what you do, that you never lose that connection, that form of empathy, so that you carry that with you with every decision you make. And you got to fight for your future sometimes, and it's worth it. And it can be an exhilarating, uplifting, and liberating experience to fight for yourself, because once you do, basically you're fighting for everybody like you, and that's worth doing.